Heart and soul, I fell in love with you.
For nearly 120 years, hot, delicious Quaker oatmeal has made millions of Americans feel good about themselves each and every morning. Last month, we found out why. When the FDA confirmed that soluble fiber from oatmeal as part of a heart-healthy diet may reduce the risk of heart disease. We've always known Quaker oatmeal's been good for the soul, but it's nice to know it may be good for your heart, too.
You got me heart and soul.
Ahead on WeatherScope, winter threatens a return to parts of the Northeast, including New York City. The latest coming up on WeatherScope after your local forecast.
This is your local forecast. Weather information you can plan on, only on the Weather Channel.
Next on WeatherScope, as cleanup of massive tornado damage moves into high gear, the potential arises again for more severe weather in the south. And the rain connected with the system threatens increased flooding in the Ohio Valley and possibly a wintry mix for the Northeast. Those stories plus in-depth forecast and analysis in this edition of WeatherScope.
There's a wintry mix in the outlook for New York City and parts of the Northeast. Welcome to WeatherScope. I'm Will Annan. But first, a storm system that's proved deadly over the weekend is once again creating some threatening weather across the south. For the latest on that severe weather, let's go to the Forecast Center. And standing by to talk about that is Cheryl Lemke.
Thanks, Will, and a good Monday morning to you. Once again, making weather headlines today, a very powerful storm system that continues to plow across the east. And this storm system has had a history of producing some flooding rains and some violent weather. In fact, over the weekend, we had reports of over 10 inches of rain for parts of Tennessee. And then since midnight, we had a report of a possible tornado in central Alabama, just south of Birmingham, around the Coosa County area. And then we also had reports of downed trees and power lines, too, that ripped across Alabama. Some of the thunderstorms around Russellville, Alabama, were packing winds over 65 miles an hour. Also more reports of downed trees, too, across northern Georgia, especially around the communities of Dalton and Calhoun. So definitely some rough, violent weather this morning and a chance for more nasty conditions, at least through the morning hours. At this time, there is still a tornado watch that affects parts of the southeast, mainly affecting east central sections of Alabama and much of Georgia. And this does include the communities of Athens and the Atlanta metro area remaining under a tornado watch. And that does mean conditions are favorable for the possibility of tornadoes and again some very rough conditions. Some of the heaviest rains right now blasting across eastern Tennessee and entering western fringes of North Carolina. But again, we've also had some nasty thunderstorms too rolling in across northern Georgia. At least the main squall line has broken apart quite a bit. But that's not to say that we won't see some very heavy amounts of rain and some gusty winds too in association with these showers and thunderstorms as they are roaring off to the northeast very quickly at about 50 to 60 miles an hour. So definitely some very strong thunderstorms roaring through the area. And one of the primary concerns with some of these thunderstorms is that because they are fast-moving systems, they could be producing some damaging straight-line winds. Well, over the weekend, some of the worst conditions, though, struck Arkansas. We have some dramatic video to show you. Today's unstable weather conditions follows a pattern that has brought death and destruction across the South this weekend. The worst in a series of disasters was in Arkansas. Cleanup of the massive damage from Saturday's tornado is just getting underway. At least 24 people were killed. Heaviest damage was in the college town of Arkadelphia, about 70 miles southwest of Little Rock. President Clinton declared a wide area of Arkansas a disaster area, and he plans to view the damage in his home state later on tomorrow. So again, definitely we've seen some ugly weather conditions across the southeast, and we're still not quite out of the woods just yet. Let's take a look at the latest satellite imagery. Our storm continues to roar through Tennessee, but luckily it will be a fast-moving system. It will continue to accelerate towards the east-northeast, pulling off the coast a little bit later on today. Now, unfortunately, too, because as it pulls off the coast, it will continue to tap into a lot of moisture from off the Gulf of Mexico, or not the Gulf, but from the Atlantic, and that will be fueling more excessive rains across the Ohio Valley, the Appalachians, and the Mid-Atlantic. So just like we've seen in the past, more heavy soaking rains are a possibility. That means more localized flooding. And again, the southeast still has that threat for more violent weather too. There's our low in Alabama. Again, it's going to be pulling off the eastern seaboard later on today. Now, farther to the north, like in Pennsylvania, New York State, and southern New England, we'll have a shallow layer of cold air with some colder air spilling down from Canada, maybe a wintry mix there. But the heavier rains across the Appalachians and the Ohio Valley. We've had some steady soaking rains this morning for West Virginia and Kentucky, raining pretty hard right now for Louisville, Lexington, on into Bowling Green, some thunderstorms there, and more persistent rains too for Charleston, Elkins, Beckley, and Bluefield, West Virginia. Besides the rain, also that chance for more strong thunderstorms, especially south of the stationary front. This is what we call the warm sector down here. Some very warm temperatures and some high dew points in the mid to upper 60s. So with all this low-level moisture readily available, it will be fueling some nasty thunderstorms, we think, at least for the rest of the morning hours, or at least until that cold front finally pulls on through later on today. So with that in mind, again, that chance for more rough weather. Eastern Tennessee, Virginia, down towards Raleigh.